This weekend on the Rochester Press Box from Salvatore's Pizzeria at the historic Garage Door Restaurant.
See a little backstory from me, Denny Fries, on how the Irondequoit went from the name of Indians to the Eagles.
And I'm John DiTullio, our very own governor, pulling a John Kerry, a big-time waffle.
And I'm Mike Catalana. I don't care how good a player she is. 11-year-olds are too young to play in the U.S. Open.
And I'm Bill Pucko. Ronaldo, dude, you're too good looking. Join us on the Rochester Press Box this weekend. The Rochester Press Box is brought to you by Salvatore's at the Garage Door, Rochester's choice winner for Best Pizzeria, featuring Wacky Wing Wednesday and the Super Slice. It's as big as your head. The games are always on at the Garage Door, home to the Rochester Press Box. Hello everyone and welcome to the Rochester Press Box here from Salvatore's Pizzeria at the historic Garage Door Restaurant. Bill Pucko with you, John DiTullio, WHTK Sports Director. Johnny?
Billy, it's great to be back.
Alrighty, Mike, 13 WHAM News Sports Director. And it's a pleasure to have Denny Fries with us, the former past president of Section 5 and the Irondequoit Athletic Director in years gone by.
Yes,
and
thank
Denny,
you.
It's become sort of a hot button issue. We talk about the Washington Redskins. It's become political. It's become sports. It's become social. You presided over Irondequoit High School when they changed the name from Indians to Eagles.
Correct.
What went into that, and what was the tipping point for that issue?
I'll tell you, back in April of 2001 is when the Commissioner of Education asked all the schools in New York State who had a logo or a mascot where the Indian was involved, or Native American, to take a look at what they were doing and try to present a case for either keeping that or looking to make change. Dr. Wachter, Glenn Wachter, was our superintendent. He's a very studious person, and he decided to have four of us, including one being himself, one being myself, director of instruction and director of our media, to go out and to look at reservations near and far in New York State, talk with the leaders, and see where they stood on this issue.
Wow. So you actually interviewed? We
did. We went to the Salamanca Reservation, talked with their leaders. Matter of fact, the head of the Seneca Indian curriculum person, we spoke with him about it. We brought pictures of our logo, themes of our school, homecoming types of pictures. And what we found out is we were actually, now we're an educational institution. Respect is big. And we were not respecting the Native American. We had caricatures of their pictures. We had in the middle of our gym something we thought was honorable. We had a picture of an Indian chief, we thought, at a some type of traditional honor ceremony. And what we found out was we actually had a caricature of one of their traditional holy religious types of ceremonies. And we weren't doing it justice. We laughed because he said, think of it this way, are you Catholic? I said, yes. Well, let's put the picture of the Pope at a ceremony in the middle of your gym floor. Let's honor the Catholics and let's play basketball over his face. That was a good laugh. We went to Ganondanon and we spoke with two of our Irondequoit graduates, both full-blooded Native Americans who went through Irondequoit. The one indicated that she would come home crying during homecoming, wondering why we made fun of her tradition, her culture, and her religion.
And yet, until you did
that was
this,
powerful.
Until you did this, you had no idea?
It was unintended. I will tell you that we thought we were honoring a culture, honoring a nationality. What we forgot was that, like the Jewish race, which is a race, a nationality, and a religion, Native Americans are very similar. It's not only a race and a culture, it's a religion, and we weren't doing them justice.
Guys, is the Redskins issue that straightforward?
Well, I think if they went with that approach, I think we'd have this. I think we'd have resolution. I don't know many people who don't find Redskin offensive, and you don't need to be Native American to realize it is offensive, and it's not politically correct. It's the right thing to do. Finally, the Native Americans have a voice. Maybe it's taken since 1934 when they changed from the Braves to the Redskins to get a voice, but regardless, they have a voice, and I really believe the Redskins' name should be changed.
Michael, I hear from people who says, 20 years ago this is okay, nobody was making a big deal of it, so why now?
Many things have been like that before. And then when people really take a look at it, I mean, Denny's making the point, they didn't really look at it that way until they opened it up and said, wait a minute, is this a problem? And then they realized they're way behind. The big difference with the Redskins, we're talking about a private institution owned by one person as opposed to an academic institution like a school. So you know Dan Snyder, he's going to dig his heels in because that's the way he is. And it becomes more about the tradition with them than it does about any sort of education or enlightenment. If I'm Dan Snyder, I would have changed the name and made a fortune. I think he's going to make a fortune when he changes the name of the team. I think they're going to sell so many jerseys if they pick the right logo and the right thing. If there's no other motivation for him, if it's financial, he'll make a fortune if he changes the name.
So Keith Olbermann come up and says, you know, he could do it immediately. Of your favorite guy, but Keith Olbermann put a thing up there. Leave the logo. Call them the Washington Americans. Interesting.
Oh, yeah, that is true.
All right, World Cup soccer when we return. Welcome back to the Rochester Press Box here from Salvatore's Pizzeria at the historic Garage Door Restaurant. Lancer soccer camps this summer, they begin real soon. The first one is July the 7th at Total Sports in Gates. Michael, the World Cup, every time we have a big event, we see this happen. All the soccer people band together and they say, you know, this is the watershed mark for the sport. It's going to take off after the World Cup's over. Does it?
No. But I will say this. I think there's more interest. I think the United States men's team being better will certainly help us when people get excited about the World Cup. I think what people lose in this is the whole nationalistic point of it. It's the United States. I know people that will not watch soccer again until the next time we're back, but they're going to be glued to the set watching the team play now. In the Olympics, don't we all watch Michael Phelps swim? When's the next time we watch swimming? I mean, we love to drape ourselves in the flag and say USA. Now, the fact that the men's team is good or better and they give us something to root for makes it even better. And I think maybe by the next World Cup, they'll be even better. And I think that's great. But the step to translate that to lasting effect on the sports landscape of the United States when these guys all separate to different teams, I think that's still a very, very gradual process.
The best soccer is not even being played in this country when it's over. European leagues are so strong right now. We do not have an established league. And until the best of the best stop playing football, basketball, and start playing soccer, then we'll see the carryover. But I will say this, with our demographics changing in this country, with an influx of immigration, you can see at a time, at a point, 20, I don't know when that's going to happen, but more and more young kids, the best of the best, are going to be playing soccer, and that's where you're going to see a shift, but that may take some time.
And the other part about that, too, is I think this is going to help, like the Champions League and the other places, to get more American viewers. Because you already see that. And Fox actually has been a big proponent of this. They've brought over a lot of those games. They're on a lot, and people will watch them. Again, if we're talking about in the USA, like Major League Soccer, I think it has a long way to go still. But the level of play has increased. And we've gotten good at getting guys from other countries to play for the United States. That doesn't hurt either because that's made the team better.
Danny, we've kind of been waiting for generations for this to happen. The theory was that all these kids are playing soccer, they grow up, they become soccer fans, and the sport grows. But we haven't seen it. Why not?
Well, it's because, I'll tell you this, I agree that after a World Cup like this, it's like great advertising. You're going to see an uptick in the number of young people starting to play soccer. You will see kids who are good athletes who may choose soccer this coming year or the next year over another sport that they might be good at, but they want to excel at something. You're going to see that. As far as sustaining it, that advertising only happens about every 4 years. And so the sustaining part isn't there from the media.
Yeah, I think one thing, too, is, but we do sometimes cloud the issue by saying, well, all these kids play, so naturally they're going to watch. What percentage of people play tackle football in the United States? So small a percentage. Yet on Sunday afternoons, Mondays, Thursdays, whatever it is, they're locked in front of the TV.
I just remember you had Bill White on as a guest on your show once, and I was shocked when you had asked him, is there something current? And he says, well, I haven't paid any attention to the game since I stopped playing. And he was a broadcaster, too. That was amazing. I just thought that didn't speak particularly well for the sport of baseball. Like it or not, when we return.
President Obama was at the Baseball Hall of Fame and Museum in Cooperstown this week.
These are drunken, young knuckleheads.
They just have too much going against them. Kelly Johnson's not the answer at first base.
I like him. This past week, I hated him. Is he the best player in the National League right now? Absolutely, 100%.
And this is such a great story, the story that keeps on giving.
There are those who look at things the way they are and ask why. I dream of things that never were and ask why not.
Hi again, and welcome back to the Rochester Press Box. We are here at Salvatore's Pizzeria at the historic Garage Door Restaurant. Like it or not, John, opting out, seeing a lot of that in the NBA.
Whether you like it or not, that's a fact of the NBA. And I'll start with LeBron. When you're the best at anything, you've earned the right to opt out. He's earned that right. He has carried that franchise, delivered 2 championships, 4 straight trips to the finals. I don't like guys joining forces and almost choreographing where they want to go. But in terms of LeBron, I'm not speaking for Melo. As far as I'm concerned, Melo hasn't earned anything, but I will speak on behalf of LeBron James. He can do anything he wants. He is the face and the best player on the planet. I got no problem. Put it this way, if I had the option to opt out of my contract and go somewhere else and try to get more money, you better believe I'm going to do it, or at least explore my marketability. These players are their own entities. If they can go make money somewhere else, go ahead, knock yourself out.
It's kind of like free agency on steroids, isn't it? I mean, it's another step up.
Following the lead of college basketball and college football coaches. They opt out all the time, don't they? They're the guys, and it's funny because the players aren't getting paid, but the coaches opt out. But to John's point about, the one rumor is they're all going to the Lakers, and it's Kobe and LeBron and Carmelo, and however they do that. Part of it just depends on what you want. For LeBron, it makes total sense. This means you really are the king. You control everything. Yep. And it's also taking a shot, I think, at Dwayne Wade. Because if Dwayne Wade wants to stay in Miami at that salary, I think LeBron is gone. And nothing against those guys are buddies and all, but they can't afford to keep Dwayne Wade at that salary and stay in Miami.
His story could end well if he comes back to Cleveland.
Yeah.
Then I think the people who hated him 4 years ago will come around and say, okay, it's come full circle now. He's back where he belongs.
It's fun, I'll give you that. Like it or not, funding a study to try to figure out why city sports have kind of fallen off the map as far as Section 5 is concerned.
Money, let's start there. I'm not sure what their funding is. I've never spent time as an administrator in the city school system, so I'm guessing, but I'm thinking money is one issue. Another is support of the kids to play sports. I'm not sure what that is school-wide. In terms of coaches, in terms of parents, I don't know what the involvement is, the background, the culture there. Equipment, everything costs money.
Should the counties be, the county schools, which are doing pretty well these days, should they be concerned about what's happening in the city?
Oh, we're concerned about every program because that's where we get our games. We're large schools. The city was large schools that we played. The new merging policy they have in New York State has made some of the mergers, which were large and could play competitive with us, small in the way that they're doing it, and less of an attraction to play them.
Very nice. We have guys who are plugged in, Mike. Yeah. Mike, like it or not, guaranteed scholarships, Big Ten proposal at the college level, whether the kid stays in school or not.
Yeah, I like the idea of the guaranteed scholarship. I think you come into that kid's living room, say, I want you to play for me, you offer him the scholarship, and then schools are able to kind of pull the plug on that. I think that's not good. So in this case, I think the idea would be you leave for whatever reason, but you still have the ability to come back and to finish school, which I think is a good thing. I think this is going to make schools, this is another step to make schools up the ante a little bit, because they don't want to pay cash. They do not want to pay the athletes money. They don't want to go down that road. But you offer that scholarship, I think you should be obligated to it. And not everybody can, for many reasons, finish the school within a certain amount of time. So I think if you have that opportunity, I think the school, and certainly John's favorite group, the NCAA, can afford it.
I'm not a big fan of the Big Ten either, but I got to give them some. They're kind of taking the forefront on this, offering benefits for players and the scholarships. You can come back to school, or if you underperform, you have a bad year. Coaches, I know James Franklin at Penn State has taken scholarships away from players and have given them the new incoming freshmen, which you won't be able to do that moving forward.
It's kind of too bad that it came under pressure, because this is all a result of the whole issue about paying college athletes.
Yeah, but Mike's right. The NCAA, which I think will be liquidated soon, at least for football. They may oversee other sports, Denny, but they're not going to oversee football. Their days are just about numbered.
When that happens,
there's
going to be a party in the man
party.
cave, right?
Yeah. Can I go and pick up Dr. Emmert and kind of drive him out of it? Maybe Denny and I will drive to Indianapolis and we'll escort him out of the capital city.
I like that.
Unfinished business when we return. Welcome back to the Rochester Press Box here at Salvatore's Pizzeria. Historic garage door restaurant, Wacky Wings Wednesday, live music on Friday, and John's Trivia begins in the football season on Thursday night.
It is big time trivia, Thursday night football. It's ranked one of the best trivia nights in the country. At least that's what I was told.
The latest ranking.
That's the latest rankings came in. Even Soccer Sam said, this is top-notch trivia we have here.
Unfinished business now.
All right, this past week, Governor Cuomo kind of contradicted what he said a month ago when he said he would do everything possible if a new stadium was needed for the Buffalo Bills to stay in West New York. This past week, he kind of backpedaled. He did a John Kerry or a big-time waffle. I've learned in business, it's all about having leverage, whether you're negotiating a contract. And right now, the state of New York, Western New York, and whoever buys the Buffalo Bills really has no leverage here. The NFL doesn't want, we can say anything they want, but they want that an NFL franchise in LA or another big city market. I will say this, it comes down to the league, it comes down to the new owner, and it does come down to the state. We all have to get together and fund a new stadium. The Bills and their stadium is a 20th century stadium. Quit putting a $132 million Band-Aid on a stadium that is completely outdated. The NFL doesn't need Buffalo. Buffalo needs the NFL. That's what I mean by leverage. I was like, what are you talking about? The NFL and Roger Goodell would like to get the heck out of Buffalo. They're trying to honor Mr. Wilson and do everything they can to keep this team here, and the governor needs to do everything he can. I've learned one thing, and I know I'm going long. What state has driven more business out of their own state? It's New York. And New York's ready to drive out another business because they don't want Annie up.
Tell us how you feel, Denny.
Thanks, Bill. In my open section here, I'd like to talk about sportsmanship a little bit. It's a multi-layered issue. It isn't easy. Role modeling. I see some parents who role model yelling at players. That's not role modeling, that's acting out. I think that we try to teach our kids in school bystander intervention. As adults, we find it hard. Someone on the sidelines making fun of an official, actually booing the other team. We need to stand up for what's right. I think it's time for parents to know that we're out there to encourage both sides of the ball. Cheer for the other team even when they kick the winning goal, because if it's a good play, it's a good play either side of the ball. Coaches, tell the kids it's okay to pick the kid up from the ground when they get hit and fall down. It isn't a sign of weakness, it's a sign of strength. Tell the kids to not yell at the official, and coaches, don't you yell. They've got a job to do, they don't yell at you, don't yell back at them, and parents, support everybody. And tell that person who's yelling or screaming, calm down, it's a game for kids.
Parental peer pressure, very nicely done, Denny.
Well said.
Mike?
It was an interesting dynamic at the Women's U.S. Open. We had Lucy Lee, 11 years old, qualify, and everybody loved the story. She's in her little dress, eating her ice cream and playing. She's a phenomenal young player. She's 11 years old, and she deserved the chance to play because she qualified. It's the U.S. Open. And juxtapose that with the winner of the tournament, Michelle Wie. And this is where, in my mind, I think Lucy Lee should not have qualified, not been able to qualify, and that should have come from her parents. Look, she has the ability to do it, and she did it, and that's great. She is 11 years old. Now, Michelle Wie won and looked like a pro doing it and came through, and that's great. But she's gone through a lot of tough years and a lot of bad years on the tour and a hard growth in golf because she started so young, and they pushed her so much, and it was constantly pressing her up against higher competition where they wouldn't just let her be a kid, a very good kid, but maybe her parents should let her be an 11-year-old and a 12-year-old and 13-year-old. Don't put her in that world yet. She has plenty of time. Michelle Wie has come back around. Good for her to win, but it took a long time because she started too early.
Yeah, let them be kids. I was watching the Portugal-United States World Cup soccer game. here at the Garage Door, free plug, and saw Portugal in the 95th minute score the game-tying goal. Some guy, I couldn't tell you who it was, scored it. But I know who assisted on it. It was that Ronaldo guy. Best player in the world, yada, yada, yada. And I resented the fact that he had a hand in the goal, and I couldn't figure out why. Well, as a Boston guy, I've always wondered how come everybody hates Tom Brady so much, and then I put it all together. It's simply that these two guys, Ronaldo and Tom Brady, are too good looking. Dan Patrick went so far as to say on his radio show that he wouldn't mind being bitten by Ronaldo. That's how bad it got. To me, the moral of this is if you look more like John DiTullio, we're going to appreciate you a whole lot more.
I was told I was handsome this past week. I go, really? By a couple of women who work in the office.
You're not Ronaldo.
That guy
we record the Rochester Press Box here from the Garage Door restaurant every Wednesday afternoon at 12:30. Right, you come down and have lunch, meet the guys. John, thanks as always.
Buddy,
thanks for being Mr. Everyman.
Every man.
Mike Catalana.
Every man.
That's a good shot you just took.
That was a good shot. And Denny Fries. Thanks. You added a whole lot to the show. We appreciate you coming by. And thank you for watching. We'll see you next week.